Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I will be going over a high protein vegan meal prep. Now, I know it can be a little challenging to fit in all your protein in a day on a vegan diet. I am very aware, okay? So in this video, I hope to share a little bit of tips and tricks of where I can fit more protein in within my caloric intake, okay? So this is gonna be based on a 1600 calorie diet. Now, of course, you can add here, take away there, depending on what caloric intake you are in yourself. Now, you'll also notice in this video that I'm only prepping for about 3 days, and that is just personal preference. I do not really like to prep for 5 days for a few reasons. I really enjoy cooking, so I think I would go stir crazy if all of my main meals were already prepared for me. But at the same time, after the 3-day mark, I just get a little iffy with food. If you have a busy schedule, you're working Monday to Friday, you don't have time, you only have time for that weekly meal prep, this is all good. It's going to stay good for that 5 days, Monday to Friday. That's just my own personal preference, okay? So you're gonna notice in this video that I'm only prepping for like a few days, not as much as you would need for 5 days. Like I was saying, all these meals are based on a 1600 calorie caloric intake for the day. And for the entire day, these meals add up to around 115 grams of protein, give or take, okay? So we're gonna start with breakfast, and this is my silken tofu breakfast bowl. It has tofu, cinnamon, vanilla, banana, granola. It is so good. If you are someone who likes like oatmeal or anything like that in the morning, definitely give this a go. Then we're gonna move on over to a snack. I mean, you can eat this whenever you feel, but we have an apple and some almonds, just easy and on the go. For lunch, we have a Buddha bowl. So this is going to be super satiating, and I absolutely love having a heavier meal for lunch. And that's just because I get a little slumpish, tired, and I feel hungriest in the midday. So I like to have my biggest meal at lunch versus having it at dinner time, because for dinner I like to have more volume but a lighter meal so that my digestive system kind of has time to settle before I go to sleep, which then leads us into dinner, which is my zucchini noodle and black bean noodle lentil meatball pasta. Now this is so good. Like, I could eat it every single day. I highly, highly, highly recommend get on this, okay? And it is super easy for storing in the fridge. It stays good for so long. So love these meals, and that is why I include them in a meal prep, because they're meals that can stay good for several days and you don't have to worry about it getting weird or anything. This meal prep is super quick. It takes me about an hour, hour and a half, and that's another reason why I love these meals, because it's all things that can kind of be cooking at the same time. While your rice is cooking, you're preparing the veggies, you know, multitasking. So let's just get right into today's video, and I really hope you enjoy this high protein vegan meal prep I have for you today.
The first thing you're going to want to do is take your blender. I prefer using a small blender, and that's just because I find it blends it a lot more finely, so it's more creamy. And I'm just going to take my brick of tofu and crumble it into it. And I'm going to do it in 2 batches, so using a small blender is a little less convenient, but once again, I prefer the texture that comes out. Next, I'm going to add half a cup of cashew milk, and that is unsweetened vanilla that I'm using, as I like a little bit of vanilla flavor in there. And just to add a bit more, I will go ahead and add a dash of vanilla extract. And to finish it off for some more flavor, cinnamon. Now I'm just going to go ahead and blend this up. Now, as you can see, it is very creamy. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of the tofu to this because there's now more room after it has been blended. If you like things on the sweeter side, I would go ahead and add some stevia or coconut sugar, but it's totally up to your preference. I will add a little bit of stevia though. Now that our mixture is all done, I'm gonna go ahead and separate it into 2 containers, as I like to use half a brick of tofu for this meal. And since we used the whole brick, I will separate it into 2. And you can see how creamy it is as it just falls out. Now that we have our tofu mixture in 2 containers, I'm gonna go ahead and add some toppings. So the same to both. I'm going to add 1 serving of granola, that's 28 grams. And then half a banana to each. And there you have it, a nice high protein, simple, delicious tasting breakfast. Just take a look at that. And you can pop that in the fridge, and it gets even better when it's colder because the tofu mixture kind of firms up. The very first thing you're going to want to do is wash our rice. So I have my brown rice right here, and I'm going to go ahead and just soak it and drain all the water. The reason I do that is to break up the starch, but to also ensure that there's no little bugs or anything in the rice. You can see here I'm just soaking the rice, and you can already see a few little particles, whatever it is, just floating on top. And then you just want to pour that all out, and your rice is good to cook. Now that my rice is all clean, I'm going to go ahead and throw it in my rice cooker. You can cook it on the stove, whatever works for you. Perfect. So now for the rice, what I like to do for the water is you can do a 1-to-2 ratio, meaning 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water. But I like to do a little way where I just add water, and then what you want to look for is you want to put your fingertip to the very top of the rice, and you want the water to go to this line, and that will cook it perfectly every time. So let me show you. All right, so I have my rice in there. Take my finger, dip it in. Perfect, so it goes right to that line. So I know I'm gonna have good rice. Now that your rice is cooking, grab your veggies. I just have cauliflower and broccoli here, and add it to a baking tray. So this is going to be the next step that takes the longest. So just throw them in that tray, take some Pam and spray it on lightly. And you're going to pop this in the oven at 350 degrees for 20 minutes to get it all nice and brown and roasty toasty. Now that the 2 long components are cooking, we have the rice and veggies going, let's make our sauce for this Buddha bowl. I just have a little bit of unsweetened cashew milk here, tahini, which is just some sesame paste, and a lemon. So I'm gonna go ahead and add our tahini to the milk, just a nice big scoop. You see there? And then I'm going to squeeze the lemon in. So I'm going to keep my hand there just in case there's any seeds, and you do not want those to fall in. So put your hand there. Now we're just left with this nice, thick, rich, creamy consistency. And that is exactly what you are looking for. So there's a little bit chunks, and if you throw this in the fridge, it will still thicken up a bit. Now that all of our food is prepped, we have our veggies roasted, we have our rice cooked. I have half a cup of rice between each container. It is time to put the whole meal together. So I'm going to take a handful of pre-chopped kale. As you can see, I chop it nice and thin. I really like my kale pre-chopped. I just find it easier to digest. So I'm going to take a big handful of that and throw this in here. Next, we're just going to throw some roasted veggies in there, so make sure we're getting a bit of both, cauliflower, broccoli. Kind of grab 2 at a time, make sure I'm evening it out. There we go, save the rest for other bowls because I will be making more, so I'll just tuck those away. And now that we have the base of our bowl done, so we have the rice, the kale, the veggies in there, we can add our toppings. So I'm going to go ahead and cut up an avocado. And I'm going to use 1/4 of an avocado, so I'll split it between the 2. And now for the final touches, I'm going to add some hemp seeds, nice and omega-3 fatty acids. Sprinkle that all over. Now some pumpkin seeds, good for your digestive system. And adding that little bit of protein. And now last but not least is the sauce. I will just keep on the side in a separate container. So I'll just plop the lid on it and I will store that with it in the fridge. So one for each container. But we can go ahead and drizzle this one on, see what it will look like. And here is the bowl when it is all done and ready to eat. So this has the sauce on it, the brown rice, and it is just packed with nutrients. Super easy to just throw in the fridge and grab on the go. Alright, so the first step to making our lentil meatballs and pasta is we are going to cook our pasta. So I have my black bean noodles here and I have my water boiling on the stove. I'm going to go ahead and plop those in until they are nice and tender. Now that our noodles are cooking, we are going to go ahead and chop up our veggies. So I'll move all this out of the way. We're going to start by dicing the onion and mincing 4 garlic cloves. Now to start the meatballs, all I'm going to do is add my lentils. So I have a cup of brown lentils here. You can buy them pre-cooked or you can soak them and boil them yourself, does not matter. Add those in. I am then going to add a container of mushrooms. And then 1/4 a cup of nutritional yeast. This adds such a nice nutty, meaty flavor, cheesy everything. And then 2 tablespoons of flax meal. So this is just ground flax seeds, and that's really gonna help bind the entire mixture together. Now that this is all in my food processor, I'm just gonna blitz it up. Here is how the mixture looks after it's been blended. So as you can see, it is a nice sticky consistency. Kind of looks just like meatballs, exactly what we're going for. Everything is well blended. Next step, take a little bit of olive oil and we are just going to cook our onions. So not the garlic yet, just the onions. Add that to the pan. As the onions are sauteing, go ahead and preheat your oven to 200 degrees Fahrenheit because we will be baking the meatballs, not sauteing them. As you can see, my onions are now nice and brown and it is time to add the garlic. Stir that around. Next, you want to add 1/3 a cup of water, your mushroom lentil mixture, and then some Italian seasoning. You now just want to mix it all together, make sure all the flavors are getting mixed, and just let it simmer until all the water is absorbed. Now keep in mind the mixture should be like a meaty texture, it shouldn't be wet or runny. Okay. Now that the mixture is all done, the water is all absorbed, you can see it is that meaty texture. Go ahead and take it off the heat, and now you want to add your 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. Get that all even. And then just mix that in. Now that everything is mixed in, I'm just gonna let this cool down for about 10 minutes and then I'll begin to form the meatballs. My mixture is now cooled down. It's still a little warm, but it's been about 10 minutes, so make sure you have clean hands and it's time to start forming the meatballs. So try and make them all a standard size because they all are going to be baking in the oven, so you wanna make sure they bake evenly. As you can see, the mixture made so many meatballs. We got 15 out of that, and these are big. Like, I'm going to go throw this in the oven and bake it, like I said, at 200 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 to 25 minutes. So I'm gonna plop that in now. Now we are just left with these nice noodles, so we'll go ahead and set that aside. I did end up cooking my meatballs for 25 minutes. As you can see, they are nice and crispy on the outside. They still have to cool a little bit, and then once they cool, they will firm up even more, but they smell so good. Now with our meatballs out of the oven, let's get this plated. So first, I'm just gonna take half the mixture of the black bean noodles. Now let's split up the zucchini noodles and get those all mixed together. And I just like to toss these together so that everything is mixed in evenly. So the reason why I like to do zucchini noodles is just because it adds a lot more volume to the pasta and also just more nutrients. So I just really like that little extra value there that you get by adding those. Now it's time to add the meatballs. I'm going to add 4 to both. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the final step to the spaghetti and meatballs is the sauce. So I have a tomato and basil sauce here. And what I do is I just put it in a separate container on the side, and I use half a cup. And I'll just close that up, and I will add it when I am ready to eat. But for the sake of this video, we will add it to one of the plates. And I'm gonna go ahead and drizzle a little bit more of nutritional yeast on top of that. And there you have it, spaghetti and meatballs vegan style. Last but not least, you're gonna need a snack during the day, so grab an apple and 10 almonds, and that will be a nice little snack in between your meals or after your meals at the end of the night.
If you enjoyed today's video, please do not forget to give it a like and subscribe down below. You already know it really supports me and encourages me to keep creating content and lets me know that you're enjoying the videos that I am posting. So just please give it a like and just let me know to continue on with whatever I may be doing. That being said though, I really hope you enjoy the rest of your day and have a beautiful morning, evening, night, wherever you may be. Just have a beautiful day today.